Time4Learning was one of the very first online homeschooling programs that I reviewed on my channel, but a lot has changed in the years since that review came out. In fact, they just released a brand new scheduling tool, and I'm going to show you that and how it all works in this video. So let's jump right in and review the Time4Learning program together. So as you may know, Time4Learning is an online homeschooling program that offers a complete curriculum for kids in pre-K through high school. And while many parents use this as their main curriculum, you can, of course, also use it as a supplement or just use it for one or two courses like math or science. They offer all the core curriculum you would expect in a homeschool program, plus electives and an optional foreign language program. The cost of Time4Learning depends on the grade level you're signing up for. The pre-K through 5th grade program is $29.95 a month or $323.46 a year if you pay for the year up front. The 6th through 12th grade program is $39.95 a month or $431.46 a year. Unfortunately, they do not have a free trial, but they do offer a 14-day money-back guarantee. And if you want to save $10, use the link in the video description below and code REFERME when you sign up. Once you sign up for Time4Learning, you'll be able to choose your child's grade level. And you don't need to pick the same grade level for each subject. So you might choose 3rd grade for math, but 2nd grade for language arts, or whatever works best for your child. They include the scope and sequence for each course, so you can review that before you decide which grade level to assign. And don't worry, you can change this at any time. You can also add the language arts extension and time for math facts at no additional cost. If you want to add time for languages, which is their Rosetta Stone powered foreign language program, you can add that for an additional $59.95 for 6 months. Now, if you just do this, your child can start the Time4Learning program and you don't have to do anything else. But if you want to set up their schedule, let me just show you now how the new scheduler works. And this is brand new, so if you watch some of my older videos on Time4Learning, the activity planner is going to look totally different. So we're going to go here to Lesson Planning and Reports. You can click on View Lesson Plans to view the scope and sequence for each subject as well as additional resources. For language arts, they have spelling word lists and reading lists. They also have supplies lists for science. But what I'm really excited to show you now is the new activity planner. And I just want to point out, if you happen to be watching this video but you already have the Time4Learning program, you can still access the old version of your activity plan. So don't worry, it hasn't disappeared. But going forward, if you want to create a new schedule, it will be done in their new version of the activity planner. First, you'll want to choose your start and end date. So you can pick anything you want depending on how quickly you want your child to move through the curriculum. You might choose a more traditional September to June school year, but it's completely up to you. You'll also get to choose which days of the week you want your child to do their work. For instance, if I were making this plan for my older daughter, she has a full day nature class on Wednesdays, so I would not have her do this program on Wednesdays. And you may also want to have them do some work on the weekend. Once you save this, you'll be able to see how many activities there will be to do in each subject based on the calendar dates and days of the week you have set. Once you've done that, you'll come here to see your activity plan. If you need to set time off for vacations or any other reason, you can do that here. Pick your start and end dates and you'll be able to schedule time off and have all the assignments adjusted. If you want to set a redo score for any of the subjects, you can do that here. If you want to get into the details of the course material, you would go here. Click on Edit, and this is where you can get really detailed with the schedule. You can remove learning activities, quizzes, or tests up here, and remove completed activities if you want to. And if you scroll down, you can see each and every lesson and activity included in the course, and remove an individual lesson or activity if you want to. So this is a good tool for when your child may have mastered some of the material within a course, such as if you're coming to Time4Learning from a different program and don't want them to have to redo certain lessons. So just take them out and boom, they're gone. You can also play around with the calendar and move activities to different days of the week. But there isn't any way that I see where you can put certain subjects on certain days of the week or anything like that. So you probably don't really need to play around with this calendar or even look at it again once your schedule is set. I'll explain more when I show you the program from the student's perspective. But first, let me just show you the reporting tools here. Just click on Generate Reports, pick your student, choose Generate Report, and then Custom Report. Here you can choose a date range and make your selections from the drop-down menus below, and then click Generate Report. Then you can print this or save it as a PDF or Excel file. Now let's just look at Time4Learning from the student's perspective. So we'll log out of the parent account and then log back in as the student. So here's how the main screen looks. And regardless of the schedule you make, Time4Learning is a self-paced program. So your child can choose any of the subjects here and get started. And they can do as many activities in a day as they want. And if you didn't make that custom schedule, then that's exactly what they'll do. They can choose any subject in any order and do however many activities they want. If you did create a custom plan, then they can go to My Plan here. Now they can view their work for the day or week. They can change the view up here by week view or just a specific day of the week like Monday. They can also view one subject at a time or all subjects. And they can change between grid and list view. Then they can start with the first lesson and do the activities in the quiz, or they can skip around. One thing I don't like about Time4Learning is that there's nothing stopping them from skipping around. Of course, they do still need to do the activity for it to show as completed, but if they want to skip ahead or go out of order, it will let them. So you can see how each of the courses and their assignments are listed out here. The activities are usually some sort of interactive video lesson, and then the quizzes will check for understanding of what they just learned. Let's take a quick look at one of the lessons. Let's try one from 5th grade social studies.
The first European mini Anishinaabe in this area met was French explorer Etienne Brulé. He probably reached Sault Ste. Marie in 1618.
That's, let me do the math. Over 400 years ago.
And many other French colonists followed him.
They lived here too?
Yeah, they all had to figure out how to share this land.
In this activity, you will answer the question, how did French and Spanish colonists in North America interact with indigenous peoples? By describing the actions of early French colonists in North America and describing interactions between French colonists and indigenous peoples. European explorers from different countries focused their exploration on different parts of the Americas. Some French explorers hoped they could find a safe water route that went straight through North America. Being able to sail from France through North America to Asia would connect the world in exciting ways. The mythical water route that they searched for was called the Northwest Passage. However, if you look at a map of North America, you will see that there is not a safe water route that cuts all the way through. The only natural way to travel from one side of North America to the other involves sailing the sometimes icy and dangerous waters in Canada's far north. French explorers did not find the Northwest Passage, but their search brought them to the Great Lakes region. It is estimated that in 1618, Etienne Brulé reached Sault Ste. Marie and encountered the Anishinaabe people living there. Slowly, other French travelers began to arrive in the Great Lakes region. In 1668, Father Jacques Marquette, a priest hoping to convert indigenous peoples to Catholicism, traveled to the area. Marquette named Sault Ste. Marie and founded it as the first permanent settlement in Michigan. French traders, known as coureurs de bois, were also drawn to the area. The Great Lakes region is home to many mammals with fur that people wanted. The indigenous peoples were skilled trappers and could help the fur traders meet the large demand for animal furs in Europe. Furs were used to make fine hats, clothing, and blankets. The French called the land they had claimed in North America New France. It included the Great Lakes region and eventually expanded south to the Gulf of Mexico. But the French weren't usually interested in setting up their own settlements. Instead, they lived in the indigenous communities that already existed. Sometimes they married indigenous women. Their children were known to the French as Métis, a term for people with both French and indigenous ancestry. The Great Lakes, the St. Lawrence River, and most of the Mississippi River were located in New France. These waterways provided trade routes that all Europeans would value and might try to control. The French wanted to protect their land and waterways from attack by English colonists, so they built forts as a form of permanent settlement that they could defend. In 1715, Fort Michilimackinac was built to the south of Sault Ste. Marie. The French mostly had good relationships with their indigenous neighbors. Trading required French explorers to move frequently, buy furs, and get them to ships bound for France. This made them less likely to push indigenous people off the land. Living among and starting families with the Anishinaabe and other indigenous neighbors also increased understanding instead of isolating the colonists. However, as was common among Europeans, the French perspective on land ownership differed from that of the Anishinaabe. After all, France had claimed the land of New France as its territory. The French believed they owned the land they had claimed. The Anishinaabe found this concept wrong. The Anishinaabe, like most indigenous peoples, considered land unownable. For them, land was like air or water. It was a gift that could be used to meet the needs of people, but not something that could be given or taken away. How did French and Spanish colonists in North America interact with indigenous peoples?
The French began exploring North America because they were seeking a northwest passage.
They traded furs and lived with indigenous peoples rather than creating separate settlements.
The French perspective was that people and nations could own land. They believed France owned the land claimed as New France.
But the Anishinaabe perspective was that land could not be owned by anyone. It was a gift, like air and water.
Sort each statement about French colonists into examples of conflict or cooperation. Find a category for this. Had different beliefs about land. Correct. The French claimed the land, but the Anishinaabe didn't believe that land was something that could be owned. Find a category for this. Started families, yes, children with both French and indigenous ancestry, known as Métis, helped to bring the two cultures together. Sort this one. Lived in indigenous communities. Correct. Living together increased understanding between the two cultures and led to cooperation. Find a category for this. Built forts to protect. Yes. Wanting to access water with valuable trade routes created conflict between French and English colonists. Which category should this go in? Traded fur. You got it. Doing business together by trading fur shows cooperation. Looks like you've got things all sorted out.
KWL.
No. Wonder. Learn. Type something you learned about indigenous peoples and colonists. Type in more things you learned, or press continue to move on. Here are the things you learned about indigenous peoples and colonists.
That's what the lessons are like on Time for Learning. If you want to see more examples, I have some other videos on my channel about Time for Learning that you can check out. But all the lessons are going to be a similar format. Kids can click on Progress up here to get a view of their recent work, in progress and completed assignments, and run various reports here if they want to. Lastly, over here is Time for Fun, where they can view student-submitted artwork and also submit their own. They can also play some games here once they've completed enough work for the day. You can change the settings for how much work they need to complete before they can access the game room in the Manage Students section of the Parent Dashboard. You can also set the amount of time they can spend playing. Okay, so I think I've shown you everything you need to know about Time4Learning in 2024, including the updated scheduling tools. It might take some getting used to, but I think it's definitely simpler now. And the calendar view for what your student has coming up for lessons is pretty nice. I think Time4Learning is one of the best, if not the best, online homeschooling programs out there. And as you can see, they are always making improvements to help make it even better. I don't think you'll go wrong choosing this homeschooling program in your family. Still, there are a couple of drawbacks that I do want to mention. First, some kids might find Time4Learning a little bit repetitive. So if your child is someone who catches on quickly to new concepts, they might find this a little frustrating. Some kids also don't like the cartoon aspect of many of the lessons. And they did raise the prices earlier this year, which I know was a big deal for a lot of families. Everything is so expensive these days, and especially if you had multiple kids using this program, that price increase hits hard. But remember, you can save $10 off when you sign up if you use the link in the video description and code REFERME. So hopefully that will help if you're thinking of trying this program. If you have any questions on Time4Learning or just general homeschool questions, let me know in the comments and I will be happy to help. Thank you so much for watching.